You don't need to be a politician, lobbyist, spin doctor, or a Marvel superhero if you want to manipulate what seems to be immutable, like laws, taxes, economy rules, people's prejudices, reality, and the printf statement's format string. The C programming language holds the potential of doing utterly terrifying things, which is something you should embrace, celebrate, and, if you can, make use of every single day. Many beginners, as well as by other programming languages, pampered coders, consider lots of the C programming language concepts as absolute when in fact they are not. Therefore, I present you a little trick as one of these strange, beautiful, and frightening things you can do in the C programming language, which in the end feels like a superpower. And with that, welcome to my myCTalkthroughs. As you probably already know, the printf function here in our little example features a variable number of arguments. Let's have a look at the declaration. I open that here, and here on this line you can see it. The first is always a format string, here with a const char pointer, which is followed by a number of arguments, and that is here represented as ... equal to the that must be equal to the number of placeholders you can place within the format string. The compiler lets you know when you get the numbers wrong, or if there's a data type which does not match, or it's used in an inadequate way in your placeholder. So, as you see, we have here a very simple code which output just a float. That is a standard output, but in our case here, I will change that some, and then we run the code again. So here it is, and I'm sure this kind of output is desired by someone on this planet, but that's not the point here. When you look at the code, you see there is some repetitive statements. Line 8 to line 10 are essentially the same printf function with the format string here changing only. One character in the string goes down from 4 to 0. Yeah, some programmers may already raise their fists and chant the slogan, "This code's for a loop." More timid and less experienced programmer would counter, no, that is a format string. You cannot put it in a loop and change a variable within. That's impossible. And that is a dogma which at the end glance seems to be cemented to the ground of the C programming language and its descendants. Well, you can't really make use of a format string in a loop and change some variable within. No idea how you see that, but I hate it if someone else tells me, or someone else but my wife tells me, what I can do and what I cannot do. Remember, a format string, after all, here, that format string, after all is a string. And the string is nothing else but an array of characters, values of the character data type. And as all strings, also a format string can be manipulated. The prototype, here the prototype of the printf function states clearly that it must be a constant string, or more precisely, a constant character pointer. could the laws of the C universe be bent and twisted as Doctor Strange does with reality in the Marvel universe, and that format string manipulated beforehand? Let us check that with our code. And to do so, I will just copy paste that here, and that we still have it, I comment it out here below and remove this repetitive code. So what I want to do now is I want to prepare me some placeholder character string, and I do so right here. As you see, we build as a format string and we call it format at line 6 now. It shows a space character. It shows a space character where a value should be. In some way, you can consider the space character here as a placeholder within a placeholder for now. That value, I'd like to see here later, determines the number of digits to display after the decimal in the floating point number. So, and with that, we create us a loop. I start the loop here on, let's say, on line 10. And yeah, and within this loop, I just count backwards. So what we need now is here also our curlies, where we place our code in. And that goes like this. First of all, we need to create, we need to exchange within our format string the space. And that we do now on line 12. We modifying within the loop our format string. The blank is replaced by the variable x. And here it is where the magic takes place. The variable is added to the character 0, which generates the character 4 through 0 as the loop counts down. Yeah, before we have a look at that, we check out why here index number 2 stands, because this percent is from format array of characters number 0, the dot is number 1, and the blank space here is number 2, and that is the spot where we want to change something. So, but what is going on here, and why is adding a number to a character works, that I can at best explain if we have a look at an ASCII table like the one you can see here. And I already make here some, I left here some hint. Here on this line, you can see that the character, any character in the ASCII table, is only a representation of an integer. That means that adding a number to or subtracting a number from a character gives you the character which is representing the result of your calculation. So if we add in our code a 4 to 48, then we are left with 52, which is nothing else as a representation, as a decimal number for the character 4. Boom. I hope that makes sense. It's pretty standard to do something like this. So, and now on line 13, the format string is finally inserted into the printf statement here. We just put it in as any other string we could put in here. The compiler apparently does not worry at all, at least not on my on my machine here. and that string is used by displaying the values of f here. So let's run that. So here's a little mistake somewhere. As you see, my compiler complains here that I used some value x, which is not declared already. So we need to declare it. I do that here on line 7. Declare an x and run the code again. So what we basically have now is the code's output is exactly the same as before. Of course, this example is kind of silly. Nevertheless, my point here is that you can modify the format string however you want. And you can do that whenever the need comes up for it. One of the features of the C programming language seems to be that you can drive your coding to whatever extent you want.